evidence of something that you will do soon, graduation. So,
Oh my
yeah, those are like
gosh.
um heating trays
Yeah.
for graduation. So I don't know how much of this I'll have to edit out.
Actually, I
I'll,
was thinking you were gonna say for food like food tent because that's coming up sooner than
oh,
graduation. But
yeah.
yeah.
Those ones are left over from Timmy's graduation. When we did
Hmm.
his graduate, it was like I don't know if you've started kind of looking at stuff as far
Oh
as far
God,
as
no.
like where to get food from and like
Oh
start
yeah.
asking because um Hannah's a junior like Luke, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So start asking the senior parents that you know where they
Hmm.
ordered their food from, where they ordered their tent from, all that kind of
Uh-huh.
who did they use to do senior pictures. It just cuts
Yeah.
down on the the nuttiness of
The
like
madness.
yeah, oh my gosh, it's straight up madness. Like
Oh,
from the moment, like really it starts now. Like
okay.
about now you'll start getting emails from high school about this and that
Hmm.
and cap and gown gets ordered. We do it like in June. Like senior pictures, like you want to schedule those like as soon as you can in the summer, get
Yeah.
it done. Because then the picture will be due like it'll be due like either like the last week in August or first week in September. Like they're due very early. And
Hmm.
then like if you're using one of the like the our kids had to take a school picture in addition. You
Hmm.
could use some schools let you use your senior pictures depending on like there's like a certain pose or style that will count as a senior picture.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, it's just nutty. It's a roller coaster and it starts like they have like senior breakfast and senior
Hmm.
this, senior that like it's a non-stop like junior year's like going up the hill and then as
Yeah.
soon as you get to the top you are on the roller coaster until they go to school that
Wow.
following September in college. Like that's how
Oh
it
my
goes.
gosh.
Well, because you just don't know. You don't know
Yeah.
anything. Like you
Yeah.
just, I think with Luke, I'll be a lot more organized because I
Hmm.
just kind of will know the rhythm, but
Hmm.
it's pretty relentless. I'll be interested to see what you say when you
Oh my
when you go
God.
through this process because it's definitely full
Hmm.
force and like a lot of like I remember just like did I get that email? Did I answer that email? Did I send that in? Is this due now? Is that due now? So yeah.
Well, you have that. I feel like I have that now. I can't imagine another year. But like, yeah, with the yearbook, I still second guess myself because we have to order ours so early in the year. And then I keep getting the emails and I'm like, wait a minute, did I order
Yeah.
it? I can't remember. I gotta go back to my emails and my receipts and all that. It's like, oh, I can't. Yeah, I should probably start thinking of it. How many people did you have at his graduation party?
Well, ours was it was kind of big because Tim's family is local, so we usually see them. So
Okay.
when we have big events there, they come out and they're probably like 30 or 40 people when you do like all the
Yeah.
extended because both of his parents have several siblings. They both are one of
Hmm.
seven.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, so there's a huge crowd that kind of comes out and now
Hmm.
their kids have kids now. So
Yeah.
that was a big deal. And then my family is from down south.
Hmm.
So graduations and weddings and funerals are kind of the big go-tos for
Yeah.
them. So they'll come up when there's something like that. Like my aunt, like actually like because for my family I had to be very, very early. I sent out a letter. I think it was the April before. Yeah, I think it was April before the graduation in June
Hmm.
and I sent out a letter talking about, the schedule of the graduation, what day the graduation on, what was on, what time. At that point, I had already planned out like what family dinners we were gonna do. Timmy had a big graduation party the day after his
Hmm.
graduation. The day of his graduation, we did a brunch because his graduation was like at 1 or 2 in the afternoon.
Hmm.
So we had people gather at our house for brunch because we wanted people to eat before they went over
Hmm.
to the graduation, which was going to be a couple hours long. And then we had food catered after that when they got back
Wow.
to the house. Then we had the big party on Sunday. And that was like, with the tent and the food. We had an ice cream truck. It was ridiculous.
Wow, Adrian.
Because everybody came. I mean, just like it was
Yeah.
a full day, we had the pool open, like it was just and it was a
Hmm.
beautiful day too. Like we totally
Hmm.
lucked out. We had We had tables set up in the backyard. We had the garage was set up as kind of like a little party space. People were playing football and soccer out in the front yard. The ice cream truck came up into the circle and handed out ice cream. It was like, yeah, it was a whole thing. But that was the big party day. And then Friday, I think we did. I forget what happened on Friday. I think there might have been like a small, like for my side of the family, because they were coming in from so far away. We had kind of
Hmm.
just like a my side of the family party at my parents' house.
Hmm.
And then the day before that, we had a small dinner catered because people were coming in. So,
Okay.
so it was just kind of like,
Wow. Yeah.
I had a block of rooms at a hotel. It was just, yeah, it was a whole thing.
Wow. Oh my
So,
gosh. Yeah, that is
yeah,
a lot. I don't
yeah.
think we're gonna have that. Well, probably we won't have that many out of town guests. So I guess that's a little bit less. That's good.
You know,
Yeah.
well, Timmy's the oldest
Yeah.
out of all of my kids,
Uh-huh.
plus out of all the cousins, really. So
Right.
he kind of like was kind of setting the tone for,
Hmm.
and like I said, my family, like they come out for graduations and weddings,
Hmm.
and they hadn't been, some of my family hadn't been back to Rochester since my wedding. So like that's like
Wow.
20,
Oh my gosh.
22
Yeah.
years that
Yeah.
since they had been here. So I really felt like I needed to kind of make sure that they were taken care of and everybody,
Yeah.
that we created these opportunities to be together, like at my
Hmm.
house, my parents' house, because I knew that otherwise what happens when people come into town is they sit at the hotel
Right.
and they only come out for like the formal things that are happening. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's a lot of planning
Hmm.
and excitement, and I think it's exhausting for the kids too. I think Timmy kind of
Hmm.
toned most of it out. He was happy to see all his cousins. Like I think that was
Yeah.
part. And but it's tough because a lot of their friends are all having these big family parties. They can't really get together. And then
Hmm.
we really didn't do like a friends party, like a friends graduation party. He really didn't have
Hmm.
that, but he went to all of his friends' graduation parties. So I was kind of like,
Yeah.
yeah, he saw all the people. He got to party with them like 3 or 4 times
Yeah.
during the summer. I was like, I didn't need,
Hmm.
since I did it for the family, I didn't need to do
Hmm.
like a big to do for his friends. And all throughout high school, I'm a pasta dinner mom. So like the
Hmm.
kids, have 2 or 3 pasta dinners during the season. So
Hmm.
he always has his friends over for parties. So I was kind of like, I didn't need to
Hmm.
do an additional party. And
Yeah.
because the summer weekends get all booked up, like you
Hmm.
can't,
Yeah.
find time for
So
it. So
was your whole family be able to see the graduation? Because that,
yeah, there was no ticket limit. So
wow.
what's interesting is his graduation was at Brockport.
Oh,
So
okay.
which was kind of funny because that's where he ended
Yeah.
up going to school. But it was neat. They have like a field house, and inside the field house they have like the bleachers and everything. They pulled all the bleachers out. There were all sorts of seats. And because our party was so big, like we sat in the back, which I wish we had taken the time to kind of move closer because the back of the room kind of had a less formal vibe than the people who were
Mm,
sitting closer to the action. But
yeah.
they did a nice job. Like they had it up on like a full screen, so you didn't have to like you didn't feel like you weren't a part of it. Like, you could see the speakers, you could see the kids as they were going across the stage. You could see the pictures at the end. Like they were taking like pictures with their diplomas like as they came off the stage, which created sort of a little bit of a backlog. I don't know what exactly happened
Mm,
there. I don't think it
hmm.
went off exactly the way that they wanted it to go, but um yeah, it was a big event. And it was interesting because the level of dress at it
Hmm.
too was kind of interesting. Like some people were in shorts and flip-flops and some people
Hmm.
like were dressed up. Like I dressed. I mean, like I
Hmm.
dress and some heels and my kids were dressed in slacks and button-down shirts, and then some people were like nobody was in pajamas, but people were definitely definitely in more casual clothes than I expected. But
Yeah.
yeah, it was nice. It was really nice, and the fact that we didn't have to scrounge for tickets too. Because I
Yeah.
know some people use or some schools use a venue, and then they provide you with tickets, and then you have to try to trade out with people who aren't bringing as many people. So yeah.
Yeah. I don't actually know how our school does it, but I don't know how big your kid's school is, but Hannah's graduating class will be about 750.
Hmm.
So, and we have our ceremony at SPAC.
Okay.
So I don't know. I have a feeling there's a limit.
Mhm.
because I just imagine with that many people, it would just get out of control.
Yeah.
And at RPI, we definitely have a limit, although they do kind of open it up or like say how many tickets they have available towards the end. So like you kind of have to pick and choose your four tickets up front and who is going to get them. And then like anyone else, you're just going to have to say, okay, we'll see. So I know students get a little bit, anxious about that and who can attend, but that's, yeah, unfortunately, sometimes you have to make those calls with the
Yep.
limits that you have. I mean, some places are just only so big, and there is like an overflow. It gets interesting, right? Because there's like it's an outdoor ceremony for both. I mean, SPAC is covered, but it's still outdoors,
Mhm.
At RPI, it's all outdoors. And then if there's a last minute rain, like we don't, it's not as obvious ahead of time.
Yeah.
They will sometimes either like cut the ceremony short. They have like some way to do that. Or ahead of time, if they know it's going to rain, there's a couple of venues where they have one where the graduates will be, and then the other one ends up being like overflow where it's just on the screen, just because
Okay.
there's
Yeah.
just not enough space when you factor in everybody. So, yeah, graduation ceremonies. I'm glad I used to volunteer, but I've never been in charge of like planning one. So
Hmm.
glad. It just seems like so much, so much going on. But yeah, I
Yeah.
guess that's what I have to look forward to next year.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, me too.
Yeah.
Getting back on
Yeah, you too.
the crazy roller coaster. I was talking
Yeah.
to Luke the other day, and I was like, he's into film, so I was like, okay, let's look up the SUNY schools that have film degrees and figure out which ones you want to go to before break week is gone and done. So just trying to figure out what he wants to do during break week because we're not going anywhere, but we really
Mm.
should visit some schools because they'll be in
Mhm.
class. So
So
yeah.
yeah, you think we started off asking about that, and this is such a crazy time because this is when the seniors are like a lot of them trying to make their decision, right?
Yeah.
So it's a mad rush for students at the college to come visit, and like that's kind of what we're dealing with right now is that it can be really hard. So we have limits, right? Again,
Mhm.
there's a
Yeah.
limit. There's only so much space and time and people that you can accommodate, but everybody wants to squeeze in. And so
Hmm.
they start getting a little crafty. They start looking up other people that like not admissions and not the departments. They start like cold calling anybody they can find at the college to say like, can we see this? Can we see that? And the thing is that a lot of times when there's an accepted student day,
Hmm.
a lot of the resources are kind of going from like that's doable during a normal time of the year, but
Hmm.
outside of this crunch time, it's almost less doable because all the resources are pooled to that accepted students day. So like I work on Saturday normally. I don't work on Saturdays. That means that I'm kind of comped a different day. So there's a day when I won't be working that I can't help facilitate people that want to see my department. And then there's faculty that we're asking to come in on Saturday and do lab demos. They don't do lab demos on any other time. Like the lab demos are really just a way to highlight what you do in that lab, but it's not like you're doing lab demos during a normal class. I
Yeah.
mean, you're going to pick the most interesting and relatable kind of task that you're doing in the lab, but typically when you're in that lab, you're doing something that kind of was like the follow-up from the last time you had that lab, and it's not really like all that thrilling and exciting on that particular day, right? Because it's a build-up.
Yeah.
So it's not something we can recreate every hour of every day. And then to see the lab spaces, like, it's really not that interesting. I mean,
Mhm.
it's a room and there's equipment, and I don't know what all of the equipment does. I know what some of the equipment does. I know the tour guide version of what it involves.
Mhm.
But people don't want that part. They want to know, they want to see it in action. They want to know, what do you do with that equipment? Well, that's what the lab demos are for Accepted Students Day. So, it's hard. I know that, it's really hard to like fit it all in and to always make the days that, the college has highlighted work, right?
Yeah.
But I would say if anyone's listening to this and you're wondering, is it worth it to go to Accepted Students Day? I would say yes. If you can make it, that's our chance
Mhm.
to put our best foot forward
Yeah.
and to show you, what we think might want to know based on what people ask about. But then it's almost counterintuitive. People always want to feel special and like unique, and I get it. It's nice when you have like a one-on-one thing,
Mhm.
but there's always going to be some kind of compromise. Like
Yeah.
when you get a one-on-one tour, it's not going to be that really exciting lab demo. There might be things that are closed. There might not be a faculty available. It's kind of you get what you get
Mhm.
because I can't arrange all of those things on top of the fact that about half of the time when I try to arrange them, people don't show up. So,
Yeah.
it's kind of like everything else. Like Hannah and I always talk about like other people have ruined things for like other people, and you're like, like you have rules because other people messed things up and broke the rules, and now,
Yeah.
everybody else to follow has to, kind of come after that. Well, it's kind of the same thing. I had two individual department tours lined up for this week. And honestly, there's only so much I do ahead of time because the fact that about half of them don't show up. And
Wow.
it's not, I understand, right? A lot of
Mhm.
times it's because somebody came, they planned a visit and they got lost. So they were late to their tour. And then they're scrambling to get to their tour and they don't realize that the tour is going to end like a half an hour. It's like they're going to need a half an hour after the tour to like ask their questions and then get to where they need to go. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, shoot. And I only have a half an hour block because that's how my appointments are.
Yeah.
And so then it's like, I have 5 minutes. I could show you around for 5 minutes.
Mhm.
Or then they just sometimes say, oh, we got to go, or we're hungry and we're just going to go get lunch and we're going to skip it. And half the time people don't say anything. They don't tell. So,
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
So it's really interesting to be on this side of it and like hear all the demands that people have and like say, well, we have this because we know people want more of a department school level interaction as opposed to just the regular tour. So we offer this. Like there is a School of Engineering specific event that we do on Fridays during this peak time, but then that fills up too.
Mhm.
And then, it's like, okay, well, and then there's classes that they can, but there's only so much space that we have for those too. So, I mean, the one thing when I listen to podcasts about college admissions, when I read books, when you hear, anybody, if you follow people on Instagram that have their own thoughts on it, almost always you're going to hear people say, call the department and schedule something with a faculty member. But I would just say, like, that may or may not work, and depending on where you're looking, right? Like if you
Mhm.
think about it, everybody's getting that advice. And if
Mhm.
you're looking at a school that is highly selective, where there's a lot of applicants that already kind of can pick and choose the students, and I'm not saying RPI is necessarily like all of that. I think, we do get a lot of people interested, but I'm thinking of something like, an MIT or like,
Mhm.
Michigan is really popular right now. There's no way that they can accommodate that. They hire
Right.
faculty to teach, to teach the current students.
Yeah. Yeah.
They definitely don't have an hour to speak to you and your kid about what you should be doing in senior year about like, you know what I mean? Because that's what the questions end up being, and that's what really is hard because faculty aren't prepared to answer like, what AB score do I need to transfer it in? Like that's
Mhm.
an admissions question.
Yeah.
So some of that is me kind of when they come to me, if they want to meet with the faculty, sometimes I have to screen out like what are you looking to talk to faculty about? Like maybe I can help you because
Mhm.
sometimes it's like, well, they really want to like learn more about the major. And I'm like, okay, well, and it's like, okay, once they start asking questions about nuclear fission and, whether we do that or this or that, I'm like,
Mhm.
yeah, okay, maybe we can set something up with a faculty member.
Talk about
Because,
nuclear physics in a long time. You can talk to the faculty.
yeah, but like, yeah, I don't know if I can answer that. But, if you want to know, like, I think a lot of times again, they want to feel like they got that personal attention. And then they
Mhm.
also, I don't know, they think that it helps them too, which
Yeah.
most of the time, unless you're that kid that's asking very specific questions that I can't answer, most of the time faculty have no input on admission at all.
Oh, okay.
At
Wow.
all. Like
Oh,
they're
wow.
totally removed from the admissions process. Again, unless like that kid particularly like is so amazing and asks like the most intriguing questions that never come out of a high school kid's mouth.
Mhm.
Um, and they can sense like when it's kind of like prepared ahead of time versus just like a genuine intellectual curiosity that that kid has.
Mhm.
Sometimes a faculty member may say, "Oh my gosh, we really need to get this kid." Most of the time they're already going to have no problem getting it. Like
Mhm.
that's not usually the issue. So, yeah, I think it's never really about giving you an edge in the admissions process if that's what the reason why people ask about it, but like if they just want to get a vibe of the faculty, yeah, that can help. Except as Students Day is going to have a whole lot more faculty, so you're going to get a lot of vibe about more faculty versus just meeting with one of them that you may or may not ever have class with. So
So if talking to the faculty doesn't give you an edge in admissions, what does give you the edge on admissions?
so I would say definitely look at the common data set. I don't know if you've ever looked up common data sets before.
Mhm. No.
It's a really easy way to see like raw data for all the colleges. Not every college has it, but a lot of them do. It's a standardized format. So once you get used to the format, and it's usually just a PDF document, you
Mhm.
can scroll ahead. I think it's section C and H, I feel like. I'm totally maybe missing that, but they're titled admissions data or something like that. The first couple are about the current student body, so it's everybody.
Mhm.
But the ones that are about the incoming class give you the most helpful information because it's about that last year's incoming class,
Mhm.
what average GPA they had, what average, it actually breaks down any SAT scores into brackets so that you can kind of see what bracket your score fits within.
Mhm.
Um, and then it also gives you a chart, which I think is one of the most helpful parts of it. It'll say what that college uses and how strongly they use it. So it's broken down to like GPA, rigor of academics, standardized scores, class rank, recommendations, personal statement, personal characteristics. So that one is really a good one to look at. And and then it has like I should pull one up, but it's basically like uh like highly used. I mean the terms are wrong, but like this is something they really use a lot versus mildly used versus they don't look at all. Oh, and the other one is demonstrated interest. Or applicant's interest, I think is what it says. So the common data set, if you Google common data set and the name of the college you're looking at, it
Okay.
should be one of the first results. If the college doesn't have it, it probably won't be, and it'll pull up something else, usually like college scoreboard or something like that, which a lot of that information can be there, but sometimes it's populated through the common data set. So sometimes you just can't find it for certain schools. But yeah, it's got a lot of good information in there. And then it also has a section for how they give out financial aid. So you can see if a college is more of a college that will give merit aid, which is also kind of known as tuition discounting or like couponing for
Mhm.
college. That's where they're a college that maybe doesn't get as many applicants as some of the top schools, but could still be a really great top rigor school, and they want more of the stronger students to come. So if you are above whatever that common data set average is,
Mhm.
you have a good chance of getting that merit money. So that's what
Um,
you'd be looking for. And then if you go to the financial section, you can see how much of a percentage of that class earned either need-based aid or non-need-based aid. So the non-need-based aid would be the merit money.
oh,
Um, yeah. So if you're like the struggling middle, right? That's what we
mhm.
always say. Like the top students of the top income earners
Mhm.
are going to probably be able to afford colleges that, you're going to have to pay full tuition and they can handle that. The students that are in the lower income brackets, but again, they're top students, they're going to get the acceptances and then probably get maybe enough need-based aid um, to be able to make it doable. But those students are not necessarily like winning the lottery. They're still going to have to, very rarely do they get everything paid for, right? And that's the
Yeah.
kind of that myth that like, why don't I just like quit my job and then my kid can go to school for free? Well, it doesn't actually work out that way. And those students are still struggling to like make ends meet, right? Like they
Yeah.
still have to live on top of
Mhm.
the fact that they're paying tuition or maybe not paying tuition, a lot of tuition, but maybe a small portion of it. They're still maybe having to pay for their room and board. So again, there's that, but then the struggling middle who are like not going to get it, like some schools don't give any merit aid. Those
Mhm.
are going to be your most popular schools that everybody wants to go to. And then they're also not going to get maybe a lot of the need-based aid because, they make good money, but
Mhm.
let's face it, it's really expensive to live in today's day and age.
Exactly.
So, it ends up being like if you don't save for college and then all of a sudden you're like in this position where like, oh my God, like I have no options that like how do I afford $20,000 a year for some people that make
Mhm.
good incomes that's a
Yeah.
stretch,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So yeah, so anyway, very long tangent on this whole like research process, but
Yeah.
it's a deep dive for sure, but like there's a lot of data that you can find that can help you kind of learn more about the different options for schools and what will work out ahead of time, I think. There's
Yeah.
also net price calculators too. So I don't know if you guys did any of those, but
I know, we went to like a coffee with the counselors the other
Mhm.
day and they talked about the what did you say, the net price calculator? Yeah.
Calculator. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. So and I guess their school's not using Naviance anymore. They're using Maya
Hmm,
as their like platform for the kids to pull all their information together on. So I think there's a net price calculator built into that potentially.
okay.
But I haven't logged into it. And when I asked my son, I was like, "Oh, did you have your counselor's visit and learn how to use mine?" He's like, I think I did." I'm like, that's not the right answer."
Yeah.
I think I did is not the answer to that question. You would remember whether you actually learned about how to do this. So
Yeah.
I have sent him back to his counselor to try to set up an appointment so that he learns how to do it because when he logs into his account, I guess I can log into a parent account like
Hmm.
using Google or something like that. So he needs
Hmm.
to
That's
figure out
good.
how to access his so then I can
Yeah.
see some of that information. But yeah, it just kicked up all the college prep
Yeah.
storm going to the counselor day, but it was good because it was good,
Hmm.
a good review. And Timmy's a sophomore going into junior year, so it's been 2 years or 2 or 3 years since we've really been in the thick of this. So I was like, oh,
Hmm.
okay, yeah, we got to kind of um get organized and start thinking about what we're gonna do. So
And you guys hit it just in a weird spot where So when Tim went to college, I think it was still on the old FAFSA, right?
Yeah.
And then he probably had to do the new FAFSA once he was already there. And now,
Right.
like, so yeah, you kind of hit that because last year it was a disaster with FAFSA. It was like the rollout took forever and it delayed financial aid packages and it really messed up like people making decisions because they didn't have their aid package in time. And yeah, it's a lot, and it's no wonder that so many people hire people to help them because it's a lot of information to know, and it's so
Digest. Yeah.
I was talking to another parent, like in some ways a lot of things are similar-ish to when we were looking, but in a lot of ways it's very different,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know. So I think and then you can get kind of like in the weeds about just how like hands-on parents are in general, right? Like,
Oh,
and
yeah. Yeah.
almost how much you kind of are expected and have to be. Like like your kid should be involved in this process, but most families, the the kid is not going to know how to answer the questions on a net price calculator. I mean,
Yeah.
I barely can do it. I need to have like my tax information in front of me. You
Yeah.
know, you can't just do it off the top of your head to get a good answer. That's a real, good estimate. So it is a lot of information, but there are a lot of good resources out there. But you do kind of like if you're gonna, I think to do it and feel confident, I think you can do it and do a good job and end up with a very similar result as somebody who put in a lot of time and effort in learning about this.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't stress too much about it, but I feel like you probably would feel very lost as you're going through this process if you are starting from square one.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, it's
yeah.
just it's a lot because like you said, you're like there's an expectation that the kids are going to do a little bit of something. And if they
Hmm.
don't do that little bit of something, it's kind of like, okay. But then like you're talking about, like, sometimes you need tax information, you need all that type of stuff out and ready and able to like kind of figure things out. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's a crazy process, and I'm not looking forward to getting back on this roller coaster. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh my
I
gosh.
love that this episode has nothing to do with rowing.
We haven't talked. Well, interesting story because we were talking about graduations. I remember
Yeah.
when we had, so my senior year at UB, we went to states. Our
Hmm.
heavyweight four I think came in third. So it was like one of the first medals, or I think it might have been like the only medal that like our four had ever gotten. Like we watched you guys get medals left and right. You know, like you guys had boxes of them. Those were at
No.
lightweight eight. But we had come in third, and so like it was super exciting. And Dad Vails was the next week, and Dad Vails weekend was the same weekend as graduation.
Yep.
And there was like a serious conversation that I had with Coach Meg about flying me to Philly and figuring out how to like get me down there so I could row and then come back. And when I told my parents were livid. Absolutely bonkers mad
Oh,
that
yeah.
that the coach had suggested this to me at all. Like my mom and dad are like, it's graduation weekend, Adrien. You can't get on a plane, fly down to Philly, stay there for the day and come back and then go to graduation. They're like, we're not allowing it. They're like, you need to go to graduation weekend. It is not happening that way. I'm like, I was so disappointed because I wanted to go to Danville's.
Oh,
Like we had
yeah.
so much momentum. In an
Oh,
alternate universe, I skip graduation. I go to Danville's and we
yeah.
have a great race.
Oh, that is such a yeah, and I don't know why. I don't know. I think it's just because the spring season's so short, and especially when colleges end. Yeah, it happens, and I remember that. Well, let's see. So I remember my senior year because obviously it impacted graduation, but I was able to do both.
You're able
So
to do
it must have
both,
just
yeah.
been the timing or maybe because the way UB does it is that they have so many graduations because it's such a
Yeah.
big school,
And
right?
I
And you
think I
probably had
think the
yours.
PT, like the Allied Sciences or Allied Health graduation either it was early or like the timing of it was not because I remember if I had gone to Dad Vails, I could have only gone to the big graduation. Like it or what it
Mm.
was it
Yeah,
had
because
to
that
be
was,
that way. It had to be
yeah.
that way around because my parents were like, "No, you can't skip
Hmm.
the PT graduation and go to the because I was going to go to the general graduation and be like, I'm going to get, I'll walk across the
Yeah.
stage still." But they're like,
Yeah.
"Nope. Nope, nope, nope." You did not go to UB for rowing. You went to UB for
Oh.
physical therapy. Please go to the graduation that we paid for. So that's what happened. I don't think I went to the general graduation. I think I only did the allied health one.
Mm.
So yeah. But yeah, there were talks. There was that for like a half a
Mhm.
millisecond. Yeah, my
It
parents.
was also, yeah, it was also Mother's Day. So I
Yeah, that's
think
probably
whatever one I had was, I want to say, well, it must have been because I feel like Dad Vail's was probably either Friday and Saturday or just Saturday
hmm
because I definitely remember my senior year conversation trying to plan it all. And I think it was definitely not on the Sunday because I think it was Mother's Day and then the arts and sciences graduation was on Sunday. And because I remember because Cindy and I, Forte
hmm
and Frank, we were like pretty close to each other. So we were both there. And then Tara was there as well.
hmm
Um, Sitting in an opposite area the S's, but
Yeah.
and that wasn't the general one. I don't remember. Maybe there wasn't a general one, but the arts and sciences was a huge one. And then I remember trying to organize like a Mother's Day brunch.
Oh
So
wow.
like it's like a college graduation slash Mother's Day brunch
hmm
on the same day. And then I think it was um, I think Dad Vails probably ended on Saturday and then we took the bus back.
Yeah.
So,
That
yeah, I
Mother's
know.
Day weekend, I mean, from a
Yeah.
rowing standpoint, Mother's
Hmm.
Day weekend just wreaks havoc with rowing because
Oh,
when you're in high
yeah.
school, it states that
So,
you're.
yes, it is. And that's why I probably won't be volunteering for our college graduation for quite a few years if Keegan sticks out with rowing because, yeah,
Yeah.
it's literally all day.
Oh.
Honestly, like I'm probably one of the only moms that like if I had my pick, that's what I'd be doing.
hmm
Like all the other mothers are like, it's Mother's Day. I'm here. I'm like, I love it. I'm here. I get to watch my kids race. I'm
Yeah.
in this sport that I love. Like this, I couldn't pick a better Mother's Day.
Yeah.
But I know I'm in the minority with that one. But yeah, states, I think I looked at the schedule from last year. It's also prom weekend.
Yeah, prom and is there an SAT thrown in there too?
If there
Or
is, we just took it off the map. We weren't even going to think of that
I
date.
think I think there might be like there's testing that could potentially happen. There's
Yeah.
Mother's Day, there's states, there's prom. Because when I
Yep.
coached for Mercy,
Hmm.
it was I think it was senior ball that lined up with that. And then senior ball would happen on that Friday.
Oh, okay.
And or I forget, is there racing on Friday night? I forget whether we come into town on Friday and there's
Yeah,
practice.
you would.
You can rig and practice on Friday.
Well, yeah, because you
Oh,
guys are out of town. So yeah, it would
yeah.
be that you would have to come in because the races start so early on
Yeah.
Saturday. Hmm.
And we would bring all the kids, we would bring as many kids as we could and try to
Hmm.
get some practice in, try to get everything rigged. And then you're waiting for these other kids who had prom and you're hoping that their parents are going to like pick them up from prom and then bring them to the hotel so that they can be there in the morning, especially if they're a coxswain.
My
Oh my
God.
goodness. Like
Ugh.
way back in the day where you didn't have, I don't know how many races are still doing Zoom coaches Coxon's meeting, but I thought that was phenomenal.
Yeah.
But I just
Yeah.
thought that was like the best idea because gathering everybody together at like
Right.
5:30 or six
Ugh.
o'clock in the morning was just like it was torture. I mean, as a
Yeah.
as a coach, like because you had to be at the coaches and coxswains meeting, you had to be there all day until your last boat competed. Then
Hmm.
you had to wait for the draws and everything to come out for Sunday.
Yep.
Sunday, same idea. And like when I was coaching, we were in between lightweight and that's how long ago it was. I mean, that's probably good. I don't know, 10 years now with the whole lightweights in high school. Um, Between lightweights and then like the U19, U17 thing that, the categories that are now
Hmm.
what they
Yeah.
use. And they had, I remember there was at the end of the Sunday racing, they were introducing the U19, U17 races. And so they had another set of like eights, boys, girls, fours, boys, girls, U19 and U17. So an additional four races at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And, and I remember thinking to myself, I'm gonna get to the race course at like 5:30 in the morning. I'm not gonna leave the race course until probably 7 or 8 at night. And then
Hmm.
like you've been standing in your boots all day long.
Yep.
You've been in your
Hmm.
and like not to mention that it's Mother's Day, like I mean, the team was always very gracious about
Yeah.
Mother's Day. They'd always either have cupcakes or they'd,
Hmm.
buy us flowers or balloons and stuff. They knew I was away from my kids for the
Right.
couple
Yeah.
years where I was coaching. I wasn't home for Mother's Day except when I got
Yeah.
back at like 11 p.m. driving back. But,
Yeah.
like it's
Hmm.
it's something that you do. It's a rowing thing that kind of happens because we have these spring
Hmm.
races. Like at some point or
Yep.
another, everybody's kind of, yeah, Mother's Day, graduations, all those special things that help happen in May get kind
Right.
of tumbled into what's happening from a rowing standpoint too. So,
Yeah, I
yeah,
know. Yep.
yeah.
Yeah, I know. I was thinking about that the other day. I mean, we are lucky that we're so close to Saratoga, so we don't have to choose between prom and
Mm-hmm.
states. It's just going to be a mad dash, depending on whatever time Hannah's last race is on Saturday, because their prom's on Saturday. We've already talked about it. She's got that really thick curly hair that you kind of like. It's very hard to do something with.
Hmm.
And it was like, what are we gonna do? I mean, she's gonna have to throw it up in a bun.
Yep.
That's gonna be like the solution.
Yeah.
She's gonna just have enough time possibly to get home and shower, but not wash her. Well, who knows? But like, it's not gonna get done. It's not gonna get straightened. It's not gonna have time to air dry nicely. Like,
Hmm.
we're just gonna have to do the best we can. But she can go, so that's good.
Yeah. That's good
But
that
they
she
have
can
they
go.
have like a limit, like they have to be there by 6. Ironically, the prom is in Saratoga. So like she's gonna
Uh,
be in Saratoga all day and have to rush home to get ready and then go back up to Saratoga and then go home and then go back the next day.
of course. It's the story of rowing. You're going back and forth,
Yep.
back and forth, back and forth so you can get something done. Wow.
Yeah. Yep.
Amazing. Oh my goodness. It'll be fun.
I
And
know. I'm
I think
looking
you'll have a
forward to it.
great weekend. And then of course you'll have
Yeah.
a great Mother's Day too, because it'll be fun watching her out there. Do you know what she's going to
Yeah.
be rowing in? Do you know what
So,
category?
mm, let's see, at the end of April, so I think it's the 26th and 27th. I think those are the dates. It's one of the last weekends in April. They have the Saratoga Invitational.
Yeah,
So
I was about to ask.
it's not the same teams. It's actually interesting because there are quite a few teams that aren't from New York that come out for it. Like CRI comes out for it, and
Oh.
there's probably some like Massachusetts teams that come out for it. I'm pretty sure there are. And there's also New York teams, but not as many as that come for New York States. But it's a good indicator of like how the boats are going to do.
Mhm.
Before that, we'll probably have scrimmages. We haven't heard for sure, but I mean, we've got Burnt Hills in our same boathouse. We've got Niskayuna on our same river. And then sometimes like Shaker, Emma Willard, or
Mhm.
there's Mohawk Open School and Augustin Classical that usually will come and they'll do like a scrimmage with them. So they'll get some indications on like what lineups, what things work out. So that hasn't happened yet, but
Mhm.
my guess is probably based on what she's been rowing, they'll do double. Like last year, they did a quad, they did doubles. She wants to get in that singles so bad, but I told her, I'm like, think they're going to put anyone out in singles for a little while.
Yeah, it's still
I said, Diana,
cold.
you don't want to go swimming. It's too cold.
Mm, mm-mm.
Um, they have been out in doubles.
Yeah.
I think I looked at the Saratoga Invitational, and who knows, because the coach could have just signed up and then scratched something if they need to. But there is an 8, and I think they have exactly 8 girls.
Oh.
So, So we'll see.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I don't know yet, but they're mixing it up. They're doing some sweep, some sculling.
Yay.
So it'll be kind of a surprise when we get to the point, but I think it'll be fun. I'm looking forward to it. So it should be
Then
fun.
for state, she could do both, right? She could do one sweep and one sculling event.
Yeah, so the way they do it, I don't know if they did this. So what years were you coaching in high school?
Ooh, 2016 to spring of
Okay.
2019.
Oh, so not that long ago. Okay.
Yeah.
So the way they do it now, it seems like they do, I'm not sure if I got this combo right, but I think they do the boys' large boats on Saturday and the girls' smaller boats on Saturday. And
Uh,
then on Sunday, they do the girls' large boats and the boys' smaller boats.
okay.
Um, I think that's how it seems to be how they do it. Maybe it's sculling versus sweep, but it kind of matches out anyway.
Oh,
But yeah, so like last year they did whatever day, it was like one day she was in the double and then the next day she was in the quad. They didn't do an
okay.
eight last year for states.
Hmm.
So then they end up being there both days because a lot of our kids like they will race if they're racing a quad, most likely they're going to race a double. So then they're there kind of both days. Some of them did, I think maybe one of our guys, maybe a couple, I don't remember. Some of them did singles, um, but I don't know if anybody's going to do singles this year. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Very cool. Well, we
yep.
should
Should
probably wrap
wrap
up
it up.
and yeah, we'll have to figure out what our next couple guests will be. Um,
Yeah,
I had a couple ideas and
sure.
maybe some of our rowing friends from college.
Hmm.
I have a couple people who are here in Rochester I could ask, so
Yeah.
I could ask them and see
Hmm.
if we can get a couple more guests on. And yeah, well, this was a combo episode, so
It
we talked a little
was.
bit of rowing, but we talked college prep, which is
We did
important too.
it is. Yeah, it definitely is. And I just wanted to say I've been following a lot of results, as we're kind of looking at possibly rowing, like Hannah wants to row in college. We've been
Mhm.
really looking at some of the college results. They started having races
Oh
last few
yeah.
weekends. And I've been looking for Buffalo and I haven't seen anything. So we'll see. I did look states for college has their registration up and you can see who's
Oh
registered
yeah, that's
and
right.
Buffalo's not on there.
Okay.
So I don't know. I guess we'll try
Hmm.
and keep looking and see. Maybe they're still in their like building stage or
Yeah.
but
Yeah, I'll
yeah.
have to reach back out to the person I was talking to at Westside and see
Okay.
if they have any more information for me because I sent him another text and I haven't heard back. So maybe because I think he was trying to get an email of someone so that he could connect me with someone. So I don't know if he's waiting on that end to to give me that
Yeah.
information back. But yeah, we got to try to figure out what they're doing, even if it's just that they're like you said, rebuilding,
Mhm.
getting things kind of back together. It would be really fun just to help support them as they do.
Yeah.
So
Sure. All right, Adrian. Well, have a good day.
have a great
Thanks.
day.
Thanks
And
for
well,
listening, everyone.
yes, thanks everyone for listening. And if you want to come on Rowing Friends, let us know. Shoot us an email.
Definitely.
All right.
Bye.
Take care. Bye bye.